Let's get in Vaibhav Agrawal to find out just that. And Vaibhav, I want to talk a little bit about the profit number. On first glance, it's a pretty stellar set. 1,052 crores certainly exceeds our expectations. What about you?
Yeah, clearly, the bottom line number does look quite substantially more than what we were expecting, and clearly more than what the run rate that has been seen in recent quarters. But, I think at the same time, their net NPAs have gone up to an extent. So we'll have to look at the internals of these numbers as well to really understand, what the true picture is.
Indeed, the internals that we have with us at hand as of now are that the gross NPAs have come in higher at 4.13% versus 3.72%. Net NPAs, as you flagged off, are also higher on a sequential basis, and provisions 600 crore rupees versus 527 crore rupees. Do you think that perhaps we're seeing the stock not reacting so adversely to the deterioration in asset quality because the street has sort of penciled that in?
Well, clearly the provision number looks, quite lower than what we were expecting. So we really need to see what the actual level of stress is in terms of refinancing or, any restructuring pipeline also. One cannot ignore the fact that Bank of Baroda does have, almost a 7% exposure to the metal and mining space, which is under stress, and especially in the last 6 months, things have deteriorated. So one has to see, what kind of further stress the management is seeing in their books. Before concluding whether, there is a sustainable decline in the provisioning costs.
Okay, let's also get in Ketav Shah to analyze the numbers in greater detail. And NIIs are at 3,460 crore rupees. That is also better than what we were penciling in, Ketav, with 3,277 crores. And the profit has also come in higher at 1,052 crore rupees. Just on the face of it, would you call the BOB numbers a little bit better than expectations, at least when it comes to these two monitorables?
That's right. I agree. The NI is also slightly positive surprise, and so is the PAT. More heartening is the NI number.
Yes, indeed. On those two fronts, it's indeed been a good quarter. But what about the deterioration that we've seen in asset quality? Ketav, did that come as pretty much a little bit of an expectation this time around? Because, the sequential performance on provisions also has not been good. It has come in a little bit higher. And given the fact that we had seen even in the June quarter, then NPLs declined by a little bit, as well as the net NPLs and the gross NPLs, what is your view on asset quality?
Yeah, we were expecting that there will be some sort of deterioration in asset quality. But we'll wait and watch the guidance on the restructured and would also look at the slippages number. These two numbers would sort of determine, what the quarter has been like.
Ketav, this is Poonam here joining from the Mumbai studios. We are seeing, just to wrap up in terms of the numbers, we are seeing NII above estimates, a profit also above estimates. This is on account of slightly lower provisions and slightly better NII. But of course, we are seeing marginal stress coming definitely in terms of the overall gross NPA numbers. Just in terms of the absolute gross NPA numbers, we are seeing a rise of 1,000 crore, a sequential rise in terms of the absolute gross NPA, which stands at 17,273 crore. So what do you make of the overall numbers? Do you think that just an absolute rise in terms of the gross NPA, just about 1,000 crore, is it's not a very alarming rise? It is still a fairly controlled rise in the GNPAs?
Yes, that's what we would make out of it. Having said that, we would also look at the slippages number once that comes out broadly, but this number is not alarming.
Right. Vaibhav, this again, a question is coming to you. What were you penciling in terms of the restructured assets addition? Because in the last quarter, they did restructure close to 4,000 crores. So what were you penciling in, and what is it that you would watch out for in terms of the overall management commentary in terms of asset quality here?
So, obviously the fourth quarter was, the last quarter for restructuring. A lot of banks did try to push through a bigger amount of restructuring. There was some leftover amount of restructuring pipelines for most of the banks. We were expecting something like a 1,500 to 2,000 crores of restructuring for Bank of Baroda as well. But, the other thing is also what kind of refinancing they may have done, because as we saw in the case of PNB as well, initially the numbers looked good and later then the stock did, correct a little bit once the refinance numbers were out. So that is another number that we would continue to watch out for, and pipeline guidance from the management as well as to what is their refinance pipeline going forward as well.
Right. Ketav, this question is coming to you. How do you see the Bank of Baroda in terms of valuations, especially compared to the other larger PSU banks? Do you think that still amongst the peers, Bank of Baroda has performed fairly better, and hence what is the kind of valuations would you look at it?
Yes, so it is trading at a slight premium to the other large PSU banks except for SBI. But the reason also being that it has better capital adequacy and has shown slightly better numbers than some of the other PSU.
Right. Ketav, this question is coming to you. Media is reporting that we probably, Mr. Jay Kumar from Value and Budget Housing may be appointed as MD and CEO for Bank of Baroda. How positive do you think it would be for Bank of Baroda if at all Mr. Jay Kumar does join in?
So we would have to see what would be his 2 or 3 year vision of the bank before commenting on that.
Right. Ketav, this question is coming to you. The NII is slightly above the estimates, but there was expectations that there has been pressure in terms of the international book margins and also slight pressure in terms of the international exposure. What are the things that you would look out for in terms of management commentary, especially only on the international book?
So while there was pressure, but in terms of profitability, it was not very different. In fact, I believe it was higher than the Indian business, because it also entails lower cost and lower provisioning. So from that angle, it was still a profitable business. I think in terms of international business, we would continue to look at what are the loan growths, because that has been a substantial portion of the book for Bob. And as a result, are the loan growth sustainable in the international book? And yes, the guidance on asset quality there as well.
Before we let you go, just run us through what the recommendation is now on a BOB, given the kind of quarter that it's delivered. Vaibhav? Okay, and Ketav, would you give us a stock recommendation?
Yeah, it's buy for us.
Okay, we'll let you go on that note. Both Vaibhav as well as Ketav, thanks for joining in. Poonam, great having you with us with a detailed perspective on the numbers. So it's been a pretty decent quarter to say the least. NII and profit, and I think that's what the street is clearly pleased with. Slight deterioration in asset quality and provisions also came in a little bit higher than what the street was expecting. But the stock is not paying heed to that, clearly reading into the frontline numbers. And the stock is up and about in trades right now by a good 3%.